Imagine a world where Europe and Australia are separated by only a few kilometers of ocean. A world where crossing unknown seas with rudimentary technology represents the greatest challenge facing primitive humanity. This reality existed tens of thousands of years ago, and it hides one of the most fascinating archaeological mysteries of our time. For decades, scientists have claimed that the first humans reached Australia 65,000 years ago. This date seemed set in stone, backed by spectacular archaeological discoveries that revolutionized our understanding of prehistory. But now, a new study is completely overturning this timeline. And this time, it's not stone tools or cave paintings that are calling everything into question, but our own DNA. Let's go back in time, long before Australia, New Guinea, and Tasmania became separate islands. During the Ice Age, these lands formed a supercontinent called Sahul, almost as large as present-day Europe. Sea levels were so low that these now isolated territories formed a single gigantic landmass. But here's the crucial detail: even at that time, Sahul remained completely isolated from the Asian continent. To reach it, our ancestors had to accomplish the most daring feat in human prehistory, crossing vast stretches of ocean on the high seas, with no guarantee of survival. Traditional research suggests that these pioneers set out from Southeast Asia, sailing from island to island across what is now the Indonesian archipelago. They then attempted the final crossing to the northern coast of Sahul, possibly via islands such as Timor or Seram. But determining the exact timing of this extraordinary migration has sparked one of the most heated debates in modern archaeology. In 2017, a team of archaeologists working at the Majd Beeb site, a rock shelter in Australia's Northern Territory, made an announcement that shook the scientific world. Using ultra-sophisticated dating techniques on stone tools, ochre pigments, and other human artifacts, they claimed that the site was occupied 65,000 years ago. Their method, called optically stimulated luminescence, measures the last time sand grains were exposed to sunlight. When sand is buried, it gradually accumulates energy from the natural radiation of the surrounding soil. By releasing this energy in the form of light, scientists can estimate how long the sand and the objects it contains have been buried. This technique is particularly accurate for dating layers that are tens of thousands of years old. These results are confirmed. Australia would become one of the first regions of sustainable human settlement in history, predating the occupation of the Americas by tens of thousands of years. This would mean that our ancestors reached Sahul with technologies and cognitive abilities rivaling anything seen elsewhere in the ancient world. But a new genetic discovery puts everything into perspective. In the 2010s, scientists achieved the feat of sequencing the complete genome of a Neanderthal. This feat revealed that all humans living outside Africa today carry about 2% Neanderthal DNA, inherited from ancient interbreeding between our species. Recent studies indicate that these encounters took place in a region of Eurasia, somewhere between 50,000 and 43,500 years ago. Contrary to previous thinking, these interbreeding events did not occur multiple times in different regions, but took place within a relatively narrow time window, probably when modern humans encountered Neanderthals while crossing the Middle East into Europe and Asia. This is where the plot thickens. Australian Aborigines, like all non-African populations, also carry this Neanderthal genetic signature. Humans interbred with Neanderthals in Europe or Western Asia around 50,000 years ago, and if Australian Aborigines possess this DNA, then their ancestors must have crossed this genetic exchange. According to this implacable logic, populations could not have reached Australia before 50,000 years ago, as they would not yet have acquired these Neanderthal genes. This is the central argument developed by archaeologists from La Trobe University and the University of Utah, who published their study in 2025 in the journal Archaeology in Oceania. They argue that the presence of Neanderthal DNA in Australian Aborigines constitutes a genetic timestamp that does not support the 65,000-year-old date for Majd Beeb. So, is the archaeological evidence wrong? Majd Beeb remains recognized as a site of paramount importance, but there is a problem. Critics point out that the site sits on thick layers of sand that can shift over time, causing artifacts to migrate deeper than their original position. This vertical displacement could make the objects appear older than they actually are. Although the 2017 research team used several strategies to control for this phenomenon, including multiple dating methods and careful stratigraphic analysis, doubts remain. Even some archaeologists who support the site's importance acknowledge that it is an anomaly, significantly older than any other Australian site. The new study suggests that even if Majd Beeb was indeed occupied 65,000 years ago, these early inhabitants may not have contributed genetically to modern Australian Aborigines. They may have been part of an early migration that failed, was replaced, or absorbed by later groups carrying Neanderthal DNA. But that's where the debate deepens. Other archaeologists caution that archaeological and genetic methods still have significant uncertainties. Molecular clocks, tools used to estimate the timing of genetic divergence, rely on assumptions about mutation rates and population histories that continue to be refined. While the debate rages in Australia, researchers are discovering early human art on the neighboring island of Sulawesi. In recent years, archaeologists have dated hand stencils and animal paintings to at least 51,200 years ago, possibly much older. This island is not far from Sahul, and some archaeologists propose that the creators of Sulawesi's rock art may have been part of the same wave of migration that entered Australia. So where does this leave us? The current evidence points in several directions. On the one hand, genetic data suggests a post-50,000 year arrival in Sahul, a view supported by the majority of dated archaeological sites, which generally fall within the 45,000 to 50,000 year range. On the other hand, Majd Beebe and the rock art of Sulawesi challenge this view, suggesting that populations were present earlier and already engaging in complex behaviors. It is possible that both perspectives are partially correct. Perhaps there were several waves of migration to Sahul, some early, small, and ultimately unsuccessful, others late, larger, and genetically dominant. This would reconcile the ancient archaeological sites with the later genetic signal. What is clear is that the history of Australia's first peoples continues to be written. In the years to come, new discoveries will emerge. New sites in Sulawesi, New Guinea, or northwestern Australia could reveal even earlier dates. Improved DNA models could better trace the timing of Neanderthal admixture. For now, we remain in a moment of fascinating scientific tension between stone and gene, between archaeology and genetics, between the traces left in rock shelters and those carried in our blood. But there is one fact that no theory can dispute: Sahul was not a dead end. Its inhabitants thrived, adapted, and created some of the oldest continuous cultures on Earth, cultures that live on today through the Australian Aboriginal people.